Hello and welcome to Onesies, a podcast of one-season wonders and blunders. My name's Andrew.
My name's Emily. Andrew, you picked such a great show this season.
I did. Thank goodness I came up with it on my own. Thank goodness I was not, bribed with the possibility of celebrity guest stars on an unexpected show. Yes, we are watching Raising Dad, the 2001 WB sitcom starring Robert Lane Saget in his first show after
Full House with a surprisingly similar story.
Now, he, of course, was still on what's the place? America's Funniest Home
Videos.
But yeah, so he did some guest starring, and then he indeed, this was his only regular, this was his last sort of regular acting gig until 2009. Okay, so it also stars Kat Dennings, who some of you may know is a white Christian nationalist enthusiast. Hold on. We're trying to figure out what Emily's going to let me say. She is a supporter of white Christian nationalists, people such as her co-star in her new show.
Who is?
Timothy Allen.
Oh, Timothy Allen, right.
Timothy Allen. Okay.
Detroit's Own.
It also stars Academy Award winner and the best superhero. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the competition really is right now. Brie Larson.
Who is precious. She's so precocious. She's so good. We'll get into it. Sorry. Love her.
Returning to a more problematic sphere.
Yeah.
We have Megan Good, the partner of Jonathan Majors. She stood by him through his battering a partner trial. So that's interesting. We'll see how that goes. I've actually never seen her in anything, I don't think. And we then have in the pilot, but not in the second episode, though still in the opening credits. Let's check. Oh, David. Oh, okay.
Andrew David Kindler. Andrew David Kindler is a rotten, dirty swindler.
Yeah. Okay. So he is a fellow teacher who is not. Oh my God. No, wait. Paget Brewster's not back?
No, she doesn't come back.
I fucking quit watching. I'm done. She was
good. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. We're still in the pilot.
No, I agree with you. We have 20 more episodes. Okay.
We're still in the pilot. She's not even in the pilot. Come on. So this season we're watching 22 episode Raising Dad. We're watching it 2 episodes at a time. So we've started with episode number 1, which is pilot, episode number 2, which is called Sex Ed, something like that, probably. Yeah, exactly. Sex Ed. There will be some cast turnover too, because I noticed that love interest Jason is no longer in any episodes.
Somebody else in the second one.
I liked him too.
Oh, are we going to make fun of children with learning disabilities, Emily? Is that what's up with your show here that you wanted me to watch?
You chose it. Hey, white man, take responsibility for your actions.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay, and then finally we have Jerry Adler, who is playing Bob Saget's dad, grandfather to Brie Larson and Kat Dennings. Jerry Adler, I recognized him. I thought, based upon his demographic stereotype that he was like somebody's dad on Seinfeld. He was not,
No.
but he's a stage actor who started doing movies in about 92. He was in a movie Emily and I both have probably seen, but will not be discussing. Um, Directed by certain
Oh, somebody that we won't talk about. Okay.
yes.
I can
Um,
guess. I can
yes.
guess then.
Okay. So, but he was on The Good Wife for steady recurring gig. So that's where I remembered him from. He is good.
He's good. He's really, really funny in the pilot, and then they tone it down a little bit
Yes.
in the first episode, which I was a little disappointed by. It's very like borscht belt comedian stuff. I mean, it's very, very funny. And they tone it way back. But he and Saget have good chemistry, and he and Brie Larson have good chemistry.
Yes. And no one and Kat Dennings has good chemistry because Kat Dennings is awful, which is fucking hilarious. Because I like
Hey,
her.
she plays a really good, like, kind of snarky teenager. I mean, she's still doing it. I mean, I guess I haven't seen anything but like clips of Two Broke Girls, but she seems to be like living in that, like, not quite Aubrey Plaza, still a little bit too teenagery, snarky, but she lives in that space, and she occupies that space well. Unfortunately, she's like in her 40s now and should probably, like, I don't know, rework that, rejigger it a little bit.
I mean, she has lots of life things she should probably think about.
Well,
Um, okay, then we'll just say that she's not likable or funny and does not have any chemistry with any of the other actors so far that we have seen.
including Bob Saget, and they have a ton of scenes together.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was Bob Saget supposed to have any energy with anyone except he does with Dad?
He does with
He
Dad.
doesn't with Brie Larson. He has better. He and Kat Denning. Okay, let's just get into it.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's get into it.
so
Episode 1, the pilot. So we are setting the stage for this show. What is not set, and I was a little disappointed by, but you kind of like get it through context. And then in the second episode, I think they nail it. Um, he is Mr. Stewart. I forget his first name. Is it Bob Stewart?
Matt.
Matt. Yeah, that's right. Matt is dropping his daughter off at high school, and they're having a conversation in the car, and she's very embarrassed. He drops her off too closely, and, you know, it's going to embarrass her in front of her friends. And it's unclear whether or not this is the first day of school. I don't think so.
Nothing's
because
clear. Yes.
there's nothing clear, and it's not because there's like questions about homework assignments and stuff later on. So and then it's established that he is a teacher at the school. He has to drop her off closely because he's on his way to the faculty lot, and he makes some joke about how he was also chilling with his buds or whatever, and does like the reverse peace sign thing, which embarrasses her more. But she still says, I love you. And then he shouts, I love you out the door, which embarrasses her. She runs up to her friends and they run inside. And then I think it's cut to opening credits, maybe.
You forget that he rear ends somebody.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that comes into play, but not really.
Not really. Though, do we have a black person with lines in the second episode? If we do,
The friend, Megan Good.
Okay, do we have two? No, I think we have one.
I think we just have the one.
In the pilot, we're in a so the scene's gonna change the like shooting locations, but this is a WB show, and for our listeners who grew up once people discovered Vancouver, like WB and CW, not the CW, Paramount didn't do cheap shit on the CW the way because this is a Paramount show. It's dirt cheap. It looks like it's shot on fucking video. Like it's probably shot on a really cheap early DV or something. And if it's not, it's like, I don't know, really bad lighting. So it does not look great. We get to the high school and
Kat Dennings, and her character's name is, I'll get this eventually, Sarah.
yes,
I want to say Sarah. Is with her friend, again, whose name I will get. She's not in every episode, but she is in this one. Nope.
yes, she is. They don't have her on
They
IMDb.
don't have her on IMDb. The fuck?
Yes,
Way.
so it is Megan Good playing Katie, but
Katie, thank you.
I don't know that she has a name in the first episode, so that is
That's a
if it is, it doesn't stick around.
so Sarah and Katie run into the room after her father rear ends a car in the parking lot.
Something about the boy too.
Yes, and there's a cute boy who walks by them in the hallway, and they're both making note of it and very excited. And Katie encourages Sarah to talk to the boy, and we find out this is Jason. He is her love interest. Vaguely, he seems like, I mean, he's very nice, very polite. He's not gross yet. And they have a good talk, and he seems cool and calm and collected, and she is like out of her mind, anxious about talking to him, but it goes really well. And then they disperse to their classes.
Yes. So Jason is in class with
Katie.
Good with Katie, and they are in Bob Saget's class. They do not say what he is teaching.
Not in this episode. Yeah.
So he is asking them to talk to him about their recurring dreams.
Yeah.
And I am thinking about no, I forgot. We're not talking about current events.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. Okay, so it seems okay. How do I say this as not to upset my co? So what Bob Saget is trying to do, we will find out according to the writing in the episode and according to the second episode, is what he is trying to do is he is trying to ingratiate himself to his students and make them laugh. His character's about as funny as one of the guys who's gonna, well, we're not talking about current events, but he's not funny in any way whatsoever. He's not,
he crosses the line into inappropriate for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what this one's all about. We will soon find out. And
but
he's like,
but not even inappropriate, like, don't talk about the kids and their personal lives. I mean, he talks about, like, how many of you have had a dream about being naked? Oh, just me? And it's like,
now
you shouldn't be talking to teenagers this way.
One of the things that was like one of the big reveals of like when you found stuff out when you were in the 90s and you didn't just have the internet to Google shit. Don't Google shit anymore, folks. Google Gemini's bad. Go to Wikipedia and just learn things and check your citations. Anyway, one of the things is here was Bob Saget, who was on like TGIF, very family friendly sitcoms, like not explicitly Christian, but certainly not anything else. He was, you would find out that he was like more of a risque comic and shit.
Yeah.
And so like, is this an attempt to up it a little? Like, because the thing, and I have already talked to Emily about this, is that Bob Saget is truly one of our worst actors as an actual human being who emotes, reacts, engages. He's god awful. As far as his delivery of puns, if he were a second or third rate player in 1937, he might be okay, but he can keep up with Jerry Adler, who's fucking great and seems to like working with him. Like, you'll catch Jerry Adler laughing at Bob Saget. Maybe it plays better on set.
Maybe. And one of the things about Bob Saget, so I find him in this slightly charming. What did I say? Not quite Harry Anderson charming.
I don't know. I looked away after you sent me that picture of his head plastered on some like bikini model dude. Like it was really inappropriate, Emily. We've talked about
Sorry.
the big.
I love Harry Anderson. I think he's funny. I think he was charming. I love Night Court. That first season of Night Court, folks, if you haven't watched it recently, which why would you? Watch it again before Marky Post, before Charles Robinson, even before,
We
like that first episode or that first season is so fucking good. Watch
yeah.
it.
By the way,
And then it kind of goes downhill. But Harry Anderson remains quirky. No, he doesn't remain quirky. Harry Anderson remains funny, charming, wonderful. His quirkiness kind of goes down, which sucked. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Bob Saget is no Harry Anderson. But I found it charming that when he would make jokes, as bad as they were, because I love a dad joke, part of the reason I love this, created by Jonathan Katz, the ultimate dad joke teller. From episode 2, I mean, you heard it. He's fucking hilarious. He laughs at himself when he finds himself funny. There's nothing I love more than comedians, one, making each other laugh, two, making themselves laugh. I love it. I love it. I love it. So he's giving me a little bit more. And the tender moments I could give two fucks about, because we are going to discover in this episode, the pilot, that he is a single father because the mother of his two daughters passed away. That does not really come into play a whole awful lot. I mean, it does in the second episode a little bit at the end, but it's not really that important.
And what's so weird about the pilot in particular is it doesn't seem like it was written for Bob Saget. Right. It seems like it was written because they're living in an apartment in the pilot. Like they seem a little bit down on their luck. They seem like things are a little hard right now in like a lot more ways than just grieving.
Yeah.
That is gone in the second episode. By the second episode, they have a sitcom house. They have a perfect sitcom house.
And yet the two girls still share a bedroom. It's a giant house.
I don't think they share a bedroom in the first one. That's how fucked
that's
up
weird.
It is. Yes.
That's weird.
So, so there's a certain quirk to the first episode that doesn't seem to matter, but it's there, and so removing it makes a difference. Of course, this is a sitcom. We've talked about it before. You talked nonstop for so long that we could have called this podcast Andrew Was Right About Marky Post. Emily,
I think she's as bad as you are, as you do. I don't think she's as bad as you are. No, I don't think she's as bad as you say she was. I don't like her. But I don't hate her as much as I hated Ellen Foley. She was terrible.
I mean, Ellen Foley was really bad given what they came down from. Like,
she sucked.
Yeah.
So,
and she was so fucking needy. Oh my god. Okay, anyway, we're not talking about Night Court. This is not our night. We're talking about Raising Dad. Okay, so then we cut to Kat Dennings' boring math class where Andy Kindler is
he's being Andy Kindler. So he's kind of got the Ben Stein character from Ferris Bueller, but he's put a little Kindler on it. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you all don't know, Andy Kindler is my favorite comedian. He has been since the 90s when I was a child. There's no reason for me to have known who Andy Kindler was, but I did.
I mean, he was 3 times younger than your husband was at that time.
He is my absolute favorite, and he is doing this very monotone voice, asking very mundane questions, and it's very obvious that his class is boring and nobody wants to be there. Okay. Not a great setup for Andy Kindler, but a great little bit. I loved it. Not a great setup for the character.
Okay. So just gonna lean into a little bit of snobbery here and just say that scene in Ferris Bueller is actually like well directed, well cut. This is like D tier sitcom directing of this scene.
Yeah.
It is uncomfortably bad to watch.
Oh, I loved it. I loved every second of it.
I felt so bad for everyone involved because I'm like, oh, they're not cutting this for the joke.
No,
Like,
they kept going. It was too long. It was definitely too long, but in my mind, that's
well, if they had cut it to the joke at some point, but they didn't because they just had their Saved by the Bell setups. Like,
yeah.
anyway, um, oh, you know who? Damn it!
I'm glad I started recording early. You seem to have a lot on your mind.
I feel like we didn't record last week, did we?
Yeah,
It's been a long, long
it's been a long week.
week. It's been a long week. And I'm just happy to collaborate with you, Emily.
Aw, that's so cute. And
Okay.
you're such a liar.
I am. I'm happy. I can't wait till next episode because you've said all these wonderful things about Robert Saget to this point. It's going to be great. Okay. Um, so then we have Saget in this class, Matt, Mr. Stewart, I don't know what we're gonna end up calling him, telling his class all about Sarah's recurring dream after he's just asked his kids to tell him his recurring dream, made fun of the less intelligent kids in the class because
Yeah.
that type of show.
So let's talk about that really quickly. All the boys represented in this, except with the exception of Jason, all of the boys are fucking idiots. Teenage, like, duh, meh, looking around, not getting jokes. They are idiots.
Yes.
Classic 90s boy idiots. It was so distracting.
Of course.
Right. It was distracting, disturbing, unnecessary. Have some fucking smart ass assholes in your class, right? Like,
we are, yeah, 13 years after head of the class.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, and I don't know if we've talked about this. God, that theme song was good. We've talked about this at some point over our many seasons, or we haven't, but sitcoms like stalled creatively in the 90s. Even though there were a lot of big hits, even though there are a lot of things that are like good sitcoms, but like they kind of stalled out. And instead of people finding success with like the next Friends or whatever, the next Seinfeld or anything like with a distinct style of its own, they just basically became Saved by the Bell. Everything became fucking Saved by the Bell, and it was intolerable.
Yeah.
And then like Arrested Development sort of
relit the fire. Yeah.
And then things just started happening, cable and things, and all sorts of things started happening.
Yeah.
And you still had like, I'm not gonna, downplay successes in certain long-running sitcoms in that era, but they were like of a dying breed.
Oh.
Not all of them were bad. I don't remember when Seinfeld goes to pot other than the finale, but like Frasier's last season has some nice shit. Like it's not bad. Like it's certainly not as bad as that show got like for years. And then I don't know about Friends. I'm sorry.
I don't know about any of them. So
okay, but that is our
snobbery. Talk about snobbery.
But yes, so this is the era this is coming up in, and it's on one of the fourth networks.
Yeah.
Or fifth networks. So it's like below a Fox sitcom because Fox sitcoms had, normalized with everything else. Okay. So we then cut to the house. So yes, so Megan Good tells Kat Dennings how Bob Saget told everybody about her fucking dream where she chews on her bunny and screams out something possibly Japanese. What is it?
I don't know.
Okay, because if it's something possibly Japanese, that seems problematic in the context of the
I don't
Saget's talking about it.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Or I also thought it could be like Native American or indigenous person's name, which could also be problematic considering he's like looking around for some big scary guy, right? Like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're not going to talk about that.
Wow. Okay.
Because we don't know the context. We don't know what it is
That's
supposed
true.
to
We're
be.
not willing to do the research, but Emily is willing to stipulate that it's probably problematic.
Yeah,
Moving on.
absolutely.
Okay. Maybe we won't have as contentious of a season as I was hoping for. Okay. So then we've got so Kat Dennings is pissed off at Bob Saget. I don't know if he sees her at that point. I don't think so. Maybe we have another scene with Jason at lunch. I think Jason sits down
maybe
lunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, he doesn't.
No, because that's the next day.
That's the next day. Okay.
So I think we cut to home and Grandpa's home watching TV. Gets a call from the elementary school. What?
Be specific. What is he watching?
Baseball?
It's his entire personality
Right.
and his fucking touchstone with the granddaughter. Go.
Right. So gets a call from the school. It doesn't matter because I was going to bring it up later. Jesus. Okay. Gets a call from the younger daughter's school, Emily. What a beautiful name. She has gone to the nurse complaining of some very specific injury.
Pulled a hamstring.
Pulled a hamstring. Thank you. I knew it had to do with the leg. So he has to come pick her up. The nurse says to him, listen, losing a mother can be difficult for a child at any age. I understand. And the grandfather is like, I'm sorry, I don't know what the implication is here. The implication being that she has complained of injuries multiple times, They get home. The grandpa says, listen, I know this has been hard for you, but we're repeating injuries now. We gotta cool it. And they sit and watch baseball together and
eat cookies.
That he is baking. Yes. Yeah. It's very sweet. They have a very sweet relationship.
And so you left out that part of Jerry Adler's first scene is when he ad-libs a story about how his wife died because her hamstring is pulled.
That was so funny. Yes,
hit her, and then it's just like, and then
this is the Borscht Belt part, right? It's like, he tells the nurse this, like, oh, hamstring injuries run in the family, and she's like, oh, that's, I'm really sorry to hear that. And he's like, my wife died because of it, and she's like, I've never heard of that being fatal. And he's like, well, I can't do it justice, but he's telling it like a joke, like a fucking old man Borscht Belt joke. So great. He says she couldn't get out of the bus's way in time. Wait, there's a tag to this. There's a tag. Hilarious. She's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he goes, me too. I lost my driver's license. It was so good. It was so good. And I was so hoping that they would keep that going. Having this old man tell Borscht Belt jokes would be so great to me.
So good. It was so good.
It was so funny. Anyway, sorry I left that out.
But then you're just like, wait, that's at that point I was like, wait a second, is this guy going to be good? Because I was assuming that, like, because you told me it was about the dad living there too. And I was like,
yeah,
well, that's going to be something terrible. It would be like some TV Burt Reynolds, even less Burt Reynolds or something, right? Like,
yeah.
No, Tom Berenger wouldn't have been old enough. Anyway, but that'd be like the role today if this were remade with Timothée Chalamet. As a young father, it'd be so fucking good. Oh, A24 could. Sorry, I've got so many thoughts right now. Sorry, we watched A Different Man yesterday, and it's a current movie, so like I have to think about these things. Okay, so
cut back to the school, and Sarah is having lunch with Katie, approached by what's his name, Jason.
Nope, and we left out the whole night because I'm off track.
The next day, yes. God damn it.
Okay, here we go. Really quick.
Yeah.
Kat Dennings comes in, runs upstairs or runs into her room because they don't have a second floor yet. Grandpa and Emily are like, what the fuck's going on? And they're like, I don't know. Like, in comes Bob Saget.
Nope.
Follows. Nope.
Nope. Boyfriend or Jason comes to the door with a mixed CD or with a CD. I think so, yeah, because he doesn't know what's going on.
Yes. Jason comes to the door. Brie Larson answers door. Emily's like, what the fuck do you want? We're waiting for the pitch or whatever. Jason's like, hey, man, who are you? And she's like, I'm Emily. Emmy to my friends. And he's like, well, Emmy. And she's like, no, 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 no. I'm Emily to my sister's friends.
Yeah, that was great.
Jason leaves her the CD. She says she'll give it to him. She puts it in a chair, sits down, watches the game. Exit that fucking subplot, basically. It comes back at launch.
Yeah. But then there's a conversation between Emily and the grandfather about how, no, she reads from her diary to her grandfather about sneaking into the older sister's bedroom. Again, they have separate bedrooms in this.
Yes.
And tries on the pearl necklace that their dad gave to Sarah from her mother's belongings. It was like a keepsake after the mom died to the older sister. She tried it on because she thinks that she should have it because she loved her mother more. Because Sarah's not sad and shit like that. Sarah overhears this from the other room. Goes nowhere. Why the fuck doesn't it go anywhere? Absolutely nowhere. We come back. They're at the dinner table. Saget's there. Sarah's all pissed off. It's like, is she pissed off at Saget? Is she pissed off at, like, what's the payoff with the Brie Larson thing? There isn't any. So then she's mad at the dinner table, and it's just about the Saget thing with the school. It's just, why do you keep telling people personal details about my life? Stop it. So he acts, quote unquote, like he was unaware that he was doing this, that it was entirely unintentional, except he's Bob Saget. He plays everything like a fucking sociopath. So he really does. He really does. Did he do it unintentionally? Is he lying to his fucking children, using their dead mother as a thing? Or was he supposed to have, like, been absent-minded? You never think about how Fred McMurray, it turns out, was like a fucking godsend, right? Like Harry Anderson, that type, like the dad, Stephen Jefferson Gutenberg, for goodness sake, who never did this type of dad role, but was like seemingly destined for it in the 80s. He would have been so good. He would have been so good. Like a Jeff Goldblum at some point could have done this as a breakout. Like, and it's just like Saget. And I'm like, the show's called Raising Dad. What is going to happen on this fucking show? So he then comes up with a plan to set everybody down, including his father, which is weird, and make a list of things he can talk about them in class. We're jumping ahead to Act 3. Are we? So, yes, because he fucks up again the next day after apologizing. I thought that they made the list because she mentioned, I don't know. I thought that they made the list and then he fucked up again. No, they don't, because then he does the censorship thing, which seems really shitty. Yeah. And we still don't know that he's a fucking creative writing teacher. So it actually seems like he's a, like, humanities teacher or something who's really off track. A humanities teacher with a when he was asking them to come up philosophy. When he was asking them to talk about their recurring dreams or whatever, I thought, oh, this is an English teacher shit. This is some English teacher bullshit. Okay. I didn't have so they go back in high school with English teachers. Yeah. So here's a couple of thoughts I have on this, though, really quickly. I know we're taking a long time. I'm sorry. He presumably has been a teacher for a while because Kat Dennings talks
Yes.
about it all the time. He's whatever. And I we don't get it in this episode, but in the second episode, they talk about how she's 15, which means she would be a freshman. So presumably this is her first year in the same school as her father. But did he not do this before? Like, did he not do any of this before?
It
And
just
it's just,
started today. It started this morning, Emily. It started yesterday. There's no inciting incident. It's
yeah.
this is
Or
why
is this his reaction?
wrote it.
Or is this his reaction to his wife dying? Is now he needs some kind of other kind of affirmation, and so he gets it from the kids by telling jokes and being too
Right.
personal. I don't know. Like they don't really go into that detail.
And we're going to skip that for next episode, which is
Yeah.
going to be interesting. Okay. So, but we do get the impression that the kids love this is one of the teachers the kids love because nothing television likes to tell us more is that we are supposed to love a white man in an atmosphere where he's probably not the best one at his job. Okay. So the second day in class, they're talking about their dreams.
Oh, they have a talk the night before. He and Sarah have a talk the night before. She tells him that she has friends in that class. She specifically names Jason, and he becomes a terrible person and starts assuming that just because she has a crush on a boy, she's fucking him. And like, so the next day in class, when Jason is reading his story about his dream, talking about some hot girl dancing, talking about laying her down on a kitchen table and railing her, they cut away before you get to that point. He goes bonkers on Jason, bonkers protective of his 15-year-old daughter, and stops him and, like, among other things, threatens him, saying, we've got these security lights and it's going to wake me up. And if anybody comes into my daughter's bedroom, I'm going to know about it.
Okay. But the way he left it with his daughter, even though he had done that, they did get to a point where he was like minimizing it as a crush a little bit. So it's like very aggressive to Jason. But it's also Bob Saget doing this acting. So
it comes across as like an incel dad.
A really low energy incel dad, though.
Yeah.
Because like there's no emoting to it. He's just like a yelly. He's a yelly dad, but you're not like
he's not threatening at all.
Right.
I don't even think he's yelly. It's just like it's very much like stern and like shaking, but never gonna explode.
I feel like, and you are going to probably not like this. I feel like this should be the revamp of this should be John Oliver's pilot because this is what I imagine John Oliver trying to act would be like, but less from Saget. There's just no energy to it, and it's fucking weird, and you have to think about it too much.
Yeah,
because it's like it goes on for too long.
Yeah,
way too long. Because then Saget says, "Man." So the kid tells the dream. They make fun of some other kid's dream first. Jason's telling the dream. Saget goes, "Well, here's the thing, man. My daughter sleeps with her lights on still because she's scared. It's not funny, somebody coming into your house at night. My daughter, Sarah, she has to sleep with the lights on. I sleep with the lights on, and I listen to any noise that happens. And we've got an alarm system, and we've got Rottweilers."
Yeah.
And Jason's just kind of like, I mean, the kid is likable, but he's not like,
this is the part where he's like ever so slightly problematic. Just because he's just talking about dreaming about some hot chick
to impress the class.
Yeah. And also Bob Saget's like, this is the part about dreams that's so wild. It's because, clearly this illustrates that you would dream about doing things you would never do in real life. And he's like, no, I'd dance with the girl. I'd dance with her.
You wouldn't, son.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just thought of something else. I don't feel like this was the type of thing Bob Saget did on Full House. I don't know. I don't
remember.
But I don't think he yelled at his kids a lot. Like, was Saget just like, I want a fucking show where I get to yell at my kids? And they're like, Bob, it's gonna be about how it's wrong that you yell at them. And he's just like, I want to yell at some fucking teen actors, man. I want to yell
Maybe
at them.
maybe it was like just a step edgier, right? Like step above Full House.
Weird. Because it's like,
Yeah.
again, we have no other context for this teacher, right?
Yeah.
Like, and Megan Good's just sitting there like, wow, he's fucking doing it again. And it's like, presumably, you should have some other insight into this. Did you
Because
people
it's
just,
not the first day of school.
nope.
You've been going to this class. And I guess I don't know how high school worked in the 2000s, but like, is it all freshmen? Is creative writing a ninth grade class? Because presumably there could be some sophomores or juniors in there, and they maybe have experience with him too, right? Like it's very like it's easy in elementary school when like you're in a third grade class and it's all third graders. Everybody's the same age. Everybody has the same teacher the whole time, whatever. But this is just weird.
It's a little weird that your creative writing is a 100 level class,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
A 100 level elective or something. Okay. But also, then why the fuck would Megan Good have taken the class?
Yeah.
Because she's like super uncomfortable being in her friend's dad's class. Like, not in this episode. In the second episode, not. And we'll get to that quickly. I promise, folks. We're racing.
It ends so quickly. So Katie tells what's her name?
Sarah.
Sarah, thank you, at lunch that Dad's been talking about you again. Tell me about this rabbit thing. Whatever.
The rabbit conversation I thought was the first day. I think the second day
Oh
they
yeah.
just start
Yeah.
talking. Jason comes over and he's like,
Oh, he's the one who reveals it. Yes.
yeah,
And so Katie exits to leave the two lovebirds alone. And he says something like, it's okay to sleep with the lights on. Like, it's fine.
it's cool. I did it
It's
till I
cool.
was 7, man. Like,
Yeah, it's
what's up,
cool.
bro?
Again, kid.
Yeah. And then they talk about the CD, and it ends with like Sarah being like, my stupid fucking sister. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, so this has nothing to do with the plot
Yeah.
thread introduced
Again,
by the diary.
so if you think about it, I guess they kind of bring it back at the very end, like the very last scene. But the CD that he gives to her, to her sister, is Radiohead CD, the new Radiohead CD. The music he's talking about in the dream with the hot chick is Dave Matthews Band. I think it would have been more telling if the CD had been handed off, if it had been Dave Matthews Band, or if the dream had been about Radiohead. Again, little things. This is the pilot, though, right? This is the pilot. So he clearly was not talking about well, no, it's not clear he wasn't talking about Kat Dennings, but it would have made it more clear to the audience that the naked teenage girl he was talking about seeing, listening to music was Kat Dennings if it had been the same music in both things. So sorry. That was just a little detail that kind of was chipping away at me.
Yeah. So the scene just ends.
The scene just ends.
We cut home, yelly family scene. But like the thing about Kat Dennings and the lights, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, we don't know if it's true.
We don't know if it's true. Saget could have just been like
making it up.
Just going because he's
a comedian and he improvs things sometimes. Have you heard his version of the aristocrats?
No, I've never even heard the fucking joke. I read about it. I read the spoiler or something back in the day when the movie came out, and then I promptly forgot about it. You've never tried to convince me to learn about it, just like I've never tried to convince you to give some Ed Birds a chance. Okay? So anyway, we have boundaries to our creative partnership. All right.
So Dad gets an earful from Kat Dennings, like stop talking about me, stop embarrassing me. You're embarrassing everybody. We hate you. Kind of. She doesn't actually. So he comes up with a plan. Each one of them gets a piece of paper. They get to write 3 things that he can talk about them specifically. And then 3 things he absolutely cannot talk about. I don't know if it's 3. I just made that number up.
Yeah.
He says at some point, you have to at least give me 1 thing I can talk about.
Yeah.
And they make their list, including the dad, the grandpa, which I thought was weird, except it gave him another like easy laugh. So he talks about how you can't talk about his teeth. You can't talk about, I don't even remember what they are. And then the things you can talk about are, his successful career as a baseball scout. And I don't know, it was so stupid and funny. And I loved it. And then you get to the little girl, to Emily, and she, says, you can't talk about any boys that I like. You can't talk about any boys that I don't like. And you can't talk about my sad place, which is a surprise to Dad that this young girl, I don't know how old she's supposed to be, they haven't said, that she has a sad place. And Kat Dennings like very quickly defends her sister, which is good. And then you can talk about, I don't even know, how she's his favorite.
Yeah.
Like cute, funny stuff.
Yeah.
Little precocious little kid stuff. I loved it. And then Kat Dennings, I forget her list, but she very quickly becomes exasperated and she's like, this isn't going to help. And this is bullshit. And if mom were here, this wouldn't be happening. We wouldn't have fucking lists. Which again makes me think that Dad's behavior is relatively new because the mom died.
Yes.
He is looking for affirmation somewhere else.
So then they all hug.
Then they all hug.
Cute.
Grandpa makes some crack.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if your mom were here, we wouldn't be eating this shit. Like
it's like
chips.
They seem broke. Like it seems like they had to sell their house for some reason, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we go to school the next day.
Yeah, we go to school the next day.
It's Dad's class, and he's written censorship on the board, and he's like, let's talk about me being censored. I can see the future of what's going to happen to white men like me, who just want to exploit the more interesting people around me, for my own financial gain. But this is from 2001, Emily. So clearly, this stuff. Oh no, never mind. Okay, it seems like it's just a situation that we exist in and have. And it seems like maybe bad. Okay, so anyway, then we get a cute scene with Jason and Kat Dennings where he's like, let's go to Dave Matthews, and she's like, is this a date, Jason? He's like, yes, it is.
So cute.
And that's it.
That's it for the first episode. Yeah, it was so cute. And then he never comes back.
Doesn't come back, and he is replaced by a doofus and a half.
Yeah.
Which is very weird. Okay.
And unfortunate.
Yes. Well, especially given what you said about some other things. Okay, so episode 2, Sex Ed, is written by
Bill Braddis. Is it Bill Braddis?
It is Bill Braddis, writing credit 2, and it is directed by somebody different, Lee
Shallot Chemel. I don't know how to pronounce that.
Right on, go for it. Sitcom director. I wasn't going to butcher it. I was going to try to be respectful of people. I know my limitations as a white man, Emily.
Fair enough.
Okay, so went on to direct some Arrested Development. So at the start, wow, a lot of fucking Nanny, a lot of Spin City, some Just Shoot Me. So the first episode was directed by
Ackerman.
Andy Ackerman, who basically directed, I don't know, like 72% of the Wings episodes. So that's like a lot of TV and so a bunch of Frasier, a little bit of Cheers toward the end. So he was not James S. Burrows, but he was, a very prolific sitcom director. So he's somebody you would get to do your pilot, except he's not anybody who's ever distinguished himself creatively. Anyway, and he needs money and production values and good producers, which does not seem to be a strength of this particular show, except now the show's going to be a little bit different. So,
because we're past the pilot, folks.
Right, we're in the regular stuff, and it's interesting to do it in a row like this because we usually don't. So, big change. High school's different. They live in a house now, very nice house. We got a full kitchen set. But then we have the girls sleeping in the same bedroom, which is weird. I don't know about the living room. I don't remember if we've seen it yet. I feel like we're in the kitchen or the bedrooms the whole time, but I could be wrong.
I don't remember. There's a scene in the living room, but I watched episode 3, so maybe I'm confusing it.
Ooh.
I know.
Okay. You love it. I know.
I do like it.
We're going to talk about what you like about it so much in the first scene here, but I'm going to continue doing some setup. So we use
kitchen. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it. Go. I know you want to talk about it because it's so good. Bill Broadus, you said you love him.
I love Bill Broadus.
Saget, go.
So shut up. We're in the kitchen and I don't even remember now because I'm so worked up about the scene that you confused me by. They are getting ready for school. Matt discovers that Kat Dennings is not ready for school yet. She's not even awake yet, says Grandpa. And so he calls up like, Sarah, we've got to go. The little girl pops down and she's adorable. And Grandpa is taking the little girl to school. Dad is taking Sarah to school. I don't remember how this comes up.
You just watched it again.
I know there's veins popping out of you in so many different places. I'm
so excited to talk about this wonderful moment in this show from fucking 2001. This show is post 9/11, people.
Oh, we've got a lot more on our minds after 9/11.
It was 9/11. Everybody was. Saget comes in, or he's like going to get Kat Dennings upstairs, and he does a fucking Rain Man bit. Then he gets done with it and goes, Rain Man dusted up in Academy Award 1998 or 1988 or some shit like that. Not that much, but he's like, like in the movie Rain Man. I'm Rain Man. I'm doing a Rain Man impression.
He does
yeah, like a sociopath, and it's not a good impression of a performance that we would have some lengthy discussions and contextualizing about in any setting, basically at this point. I bet you can't watch Rain Man without going, fuck. Okay, so moving on, because that's the bit. I mean, they mix up the kids in the lunches and go out the door, but that was the punchline, was Saget and the Rain Man thing.
Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
And the thing is Kat Dennings is coming downstairs. And I'm like, is there any carryover from last time? Is there anything? Nope. It's just same character. She's upset that her hair hasn't been combed yet.
Dad puts a baseball cap on her head.
That's what baseball caps are for. Cut to opening titles, cut to school. Kat Dennings is in a classroom with Megan Good. We do not see Jason. We do not particularly linger on anyone else. Kat Dennings is writing something down that is private and to be anonymous and to go into the question box. And Megan Good is teasing her about it.
Well, we discover that this is sex ed.
Do we discover it at that point, or do we discover it a second later?
I think we do.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. I think we do. And she wants her question to be personal. It's private. She doesn't even want her presumably best friend to read it. the bell rings maybe and everybody sits down but nobody comes in, and then all of a sudden enter the beautiful, wonderful, talented Paget Brewster. I was so excited to see her, and she says, class, your teacher isn't here. She is in the hospital delivering her twins. So they've had a pregnant sex ed teacher, which I think is a hilarious sitcom trope. And the class is super excited. She's like, I'm about to find somebody to cover the class. BRB, stay in your seats. And then they all cheer and blah, 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 blah. And she pops her head back in. She tells them to be quiet about it. Cut to the hallway, and Matt is taking a drink out of the drinking fountain, and she surprises him. What is her name? It doesn't matter. Paget surprises him, and he makes some inappropriate jokes to her, and she seems to reciprocate. So again, disappointingly, she doesn't come back because they had pretty decent chemistry.
For her being his dead wife's best friend.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh shit.
She knew the kids since they were children.
I didn't catch the best friend part. I did catch that, but yes,
it seems like, yes, they did have some chemistry, and it did seem very
like, ooh, they're going to be an item now. I just was waiting for it.
Yeah, that was like the most kind of adult aspect of the show. Maybe they were like, she's like, I'm not coming. I can't do all the work in those scenes. Okay, so all he does is make creepy jokes to me. It's really weird.
You should hear the scenes we had to cut. Dirty man.
So yeah, so he goes into the sex ed.
She convinces him to take over the sex ed for a day, says, whatever you do, just don't teach them anything.
Give them the handout. That is all. You just need to watch the class for me, and we'll figure it out from there. He goes in. Sarah is mortified to see him. Megan Good thinks it's funny. He interacts with some of the students. We establish that there is a new dumb kid, or the same dumb kid, just with slightly different hair. The production values are slightly different between the two episodes. I mean, let's just be real. How much do you think you got for doing a WB pilot back in the day? After you got through paying it, I think they're different kids. I'm looking at the cast list for the pilot, but the kid looks the same. He's a doofus-looking jock with poofed up hair.
And doesn't get anything, and I don't know. And we also discover that Katie is like very enthusiastic about learning about sex, which I don't know if I knew anybody who was enthusiastic about learning about sex in a sex ed class in high school.
And then we also meet Josh, who is so
who's also he's slightly less of a doofus than the other ones,
but he's a complete and utter piece of shit, which we'll talk about in a second. So Bob Saget does a little bit of friendly teaching, mentions that he's a creative writing teacher, not a sex ed teacher, so he's not going to teach them anything. All the people laugh. Kat Dennings is embarrassed. He is like, hey, I see somebody I see in my kitchen, and I know the rest of you from class. That. So then he hands out the thing. We cut to, do we just cut to the end of class, or do we cut someplace else? Grandpa doesn't come in yet, does he?
I don't think so.
Okay, so then we just cut to the end of class, and Megan Good's like, hey, Mr. Stewart, before you go, do you want to read us a question from the question box? It's a tradition in the class. And all the other kids go, yay, yay, yay. And Kat Dennings is like, holy shit, man, that seems like a really mean thing to do to me intentionally. Are you a sociopath now? And Megan Good's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Let's just see what happens. Waka waka waka. First question from the question box is about
Why is it called French kissing?
yes, and Bob Saget tells a joke that he was trying out for the PG-13 Disney cruise about how it's the only type French is
It's
the
the
only language you can speak while kissing.
French is the only language you can speak with somebody else's tongue in your mouth.
Ba-da-ba, ba-da-ba. That's when Bob Iger shoots himself in the head. He's just sitting there watching it on TikTok. And he's just like, really? This is the timeline? And it's in his office where there's a statue of anybody. Anyway, so you were supposed to stop me from talking about current events. Okay.
Oh,
Wow. Okay. We're just off the rails in the second episode. We've been so on so far. Okay. So then,
we cut to the hallway. When does
no,
the
because
grandpa come back?
okay, so no, it's totally split. The school day's about to fucking end. Remember?
But the other question, he
Yes.
asked. Okay, sorry.
The other question is, he reads it. He looks mortified. It looks like the piece of paper we saw Sarah fold up generally. And he stares at her. Class is saved by the bell. He makes up a dumb question that it was. And then he's like in shock, tries to chase her down in the hallway. She gets away. Um, Paget Brewster might see him at this point and check in with him, which
Yeah.
is very, again, this seems like something John Stamos could have turned into an ABC sitcom. Right, like with this type of interaction, this seems like
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell, or not Saved by the Bell, Head of the Class, just with Uncle Jesse having a lady who
Yeah.
not embezzling or whatever from universities or bribing people. Okay, so not a current event. So that's just fucking settled fact. It's universal across all the timelines. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so
She pulls him aside and is like, "What's wrong?" And he's like, "I just found out my daughter's not a virgin." And
yeah,
it's like, this is where it gets like super creepy and problematic again. But Andrew loves that because he's not sex positive.
I am not sex positive. I texted Emily a few weeks ago after she told me about the cast of this show, and I said he better not fucking slut shame his kids, Emily.
Which he does.
Which he does, but better yet, cut to the four teenagers. Megan Good, Kat Dennings, Dummy is going to be a regular, and then
And
Josh, who immediately calls Kat Dennings a slut. He will be, I think, the love interest.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. And take that out. He's not even on the same like fucking casting call as the dude from the first one. No sensitivity, no like timing, nothing. He is a guest star on Saved by the Bell. We're back into that fucking universe that we lived in with like a bunch of the ABC shit. Like
This actor I'm discovering before she was married to the super problematic guy, married to Anna Faris. He also hasn't done anything since Raising Dad.
well,
Anyway,
do what you're
they're
good
in the
at.
hallway.
If you
What are
can
they
do what
talking?
you're good at, do what you're good at.
They're talking about how she's mortified that her dad was going to ask the question. The idiot guy is asking dumb things. Is this when there's the announcement in the announcement? No, the announcement comes after something else.
But then we cut to Paget Brewster and Matt talking in private somewhere, and
It's like the teacher's lounge, I think.
the teacher's lounge. They kick out the other teachers, and there's a black guy who doesn't get a name, who doesn't get a line.
Who doesn't get a line, but they call him Mister whatever, or
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you're just like, did they go and fuck around in the teacher's lounge? That's kind of the energy it brings.
But there's a conversation like, hey, I need to talk to my daughter about this. How do I do this? Wouldn't it be easier if my wife was still alive?
Don't you want to do it
Don't
for
you
me?
want to do it for
You've known
me?
them
You've known
since.
them since they were born. Um,
And then she's like, ew, you're right, I have. Ew. And it's just like, what?
yeah. And
Like,
then like she's like, oh, by the way, Mrs. So and so had just gave birth to um two baby boys. And he's like, keep them away from my daughter in a very gross way. Then we cut back to the hallway. Wait, best part of the whole episode. Announcement over the system. The voice of one Mr. Jonathan Katz telling his dad joke. Love him to pieces. Says, Mrs. So and so, I'd like to inform you that Mrs. So and so just gave birth to two healthy baby boys. And then he says, TOO2 or TWO2, not TOO2, because there's no such thing as being too healthy. And then the classic, which I knew was going to happen as soon as I heard his voice on the thing. I knew it was going to happen. The like, is this thing still on? And then clicks off. Hilarious. So, oh no, what does he say? He says, he like an aside to somebody else, like, no, just get her one gift because just because it's twins, they can fight over it. They can fight over it. And I started laughing so hard. And then like, oh, is this thing still on? Click. So fucking stupid, so funny. But that is what I'm here for. If there was not a Jonathan Katz thing in there somewhere, I was going to lose my shit. So I'm so glad that he had a little audio cameo.
okay. Because despite being in the opening titles, there's no Andy Kindler.
Not in this episode. He's listed on IMDb. It's weird.
And Megan Good isn't. Okay. So we then basically cut to Grandpa getting kid from school. They were in a taxi. He tells her that he lost his car at the mall. He had been talking about having to go to the mall earlier with dad. He says, like, we'll deal with it. Don't worry about it. But he's worried about his memory. She reassures him by going over a number of facts that he remembers
about baseball mostly.
And then does Kat Dennings come in? Oh, right, because we're in the kitchen now. We're not in the apartment anymore. So Kat Dennings comes in, slams the door, goes straight upstairs.
Right.
Saget enters. He's like, "Where's Sarah?" They're like, "She went upstairs." Somehow he gets the kid, or maybe we cut ahead a little bit or something. But Sarah and Emily they're presumably elsewhere in the house. So this is when I was trying to think, waiting for the living room. But no, but we'll get to it. But Dad and Bob Saget and what's Dad's name? Sam start talking about how he's gonna have to have the talk with her.
And how did you do it? And all this other stuff.
They talk about his sister and how she hasn't ever had sex.
Oh yeah,
what dad, you do is like, I left the room.
And then he gets really overprotective and is like, don't talk about your sister that way. And he's like, she's had 4 children. The fuck is your problem? She's a grown ass adult woman.
Yeah. Hard to say. Great. Kid comes down, interrupts them, getting some snacks. Kid being Emily has like a good bit. Like she's just like she tells a fucking joke. It's so weird. I love
the two of them. Her and Bob Saget have a little bit of chemistry.
Yeah, but it's like a shtick. And it's
how
like
how old is she in this?
She's like 12.
She's so good. Well, she's so much better than just about anybody else. Like consistently good too.
Yeah, that's what's weird about this episode is like I don't know how I feel about the changes. Like I really don't like that I don't like Paget Brewster's back, but like Grandpa's good and fucking Brie Larson's great. And like it might be enough to carry it because Paget Brewster will be back or not. But yeah, those are like things that are quite good. Yeah. So then
he goes upstairs to have the talk.
He goes upstairs to have talk, kicks out Emily, And it's just where the how is this 22 minutes? It's over, right? Okay, so
Practically. Feels like it.
yeah, because they fucking talk about the note.
They discover that she's not the one who wrote it.
Right. She is still a virgin.
Thank God.
Wait,
Thank God.
wait for it. So then we go downstairs. We find out that Grandpa, that's right,
The car.
the car. Emily lets slip that Grandpa was gonna go get the car, and then they had to have the old man talk. And Saget's like, "I'm gonna take care of you, Dad," and he tells some joke, and you see Jerry Adler like laughing as Saget's telling it, and it's really cute. But Saget's doing a really bad job at telling the fucking joke. And
Yeah.
so maybe it plays better on set. Maybe Saget actually tried really hard. Like, it doesn't seem like people dislike him or something, right? People liked him. And
Yeah.
it's like these are not like necessarily great actors on these programs, right? Like, you luck out sometimes, but like your sitcom stock of the, especially like this era when we're about to kick off having sitcoms on all the, Disney originals and shit, and you just needed
Yeah.
people acting, right? Like, it's weird, but it's also very like likable. It's
Yeah.
very like nice for the show. Like, it makes you a little bit more tolerant of Bob Saget's performance and his weird tanning job in this one, which is odd. And I don't know if it's like bad lighting, bad like generation of television, but he had a weird tan thing going on. Not, I know Paget Brewster's unfamiliar with melanin, but uh, I'm sorry. So I wanted to say this earlier about Paget Brewster. Paget Brewster, I first saw her in Huff, which is a dramatic show starring basically sitcom actors and Anton Yelchin. It's Hank Azaria and Paget Brewster. She had not hit in any way at this point, and she basically got into drama. Then she ended up on no, not Criminal Intent,
Criminal Minds.
Criminal Minds, and was on there for years. They like reactivated her contract, and she like never wanted to do that type of show. She wanted to find a good comedy thing. Like, she's like, I think she directed or she at least wrote a fucking feature for
She's
herself.
very funny.
She's
Very good.
she's her deliveries in this. I'm like, was that actually a good line? It doesn't matter. It doesn't. I'm like, how is she this good?
She's so good.
It's just fucking wild.
And it's a goddamn shame she didn't come back because it's not like she was doing anything else. I looked at her IMDb. She was in like an episode of this, an episode of that, and it's like
good. So, yeah. So it's very sad. But she's great.
Yeah.
So, what do we do then? Okay.
So there's a conversation. So you said old man stuff. So the grandfather is afraid that he is losing his memories. He wasn't able to find the car in the parking lot of the mall. And he is afraid he is becoming old and fragile and not quite quick anymore.
They are going to go to dinner to sort of wipe the slate clean for the night. We have come away from the land of pork rinds or whatever Grandpa didn't like eating in the first episode. They go, Matt and Sarah are heading downstairs. They see Sam and Emily talking to two cops. And I was just like, what is about to happen? Nothing interesting, really. Just this weird, the end of the bit about the car.
Yeah.
It was stolen. They found it stripped. Sam isn't losing it, and he tells a couple jokes. And Danny Tanner Stewart, fucking
I've almost
turns
called him Danny a couple of times too.
turns and goes, "Hey, I'm glad you didn't lose it. We didn't lose anything around here tonight. Ba-dum bum, slut."
Now, to Kat Dennings' defense, she gives him the evil eye, and he's like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, and then is that it?
Yeah, I think so. It's
Okay,
over.
it's over. That's weird. A lot of those scenes are very long.
They go out. Oh, and then because at some point during the old man conversation, Matt starts like he's like, let's go out for pizza and ice cream, blah 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 blah. And the dad's like, don't talk to me like I'm a child. Like, just don't do that. It kind of gets a little real there. Just don't do that. And then when they're going out the door for dinner after they discover the car's been stolen, the little girl's like, "Can we get ice cream too?" And he's like, "What are you, 5 years old?" Like, he kind of gives her a hard time about it.
At some point, is it in this one where they have the "You're a great dad" speech? You're a good dad, Matt. Was I a good dad? And he's like, "You were a great dad." They have that talk. So like they're building their stuff up. And what's okay about it is that Jerry Adler's funny. So like it's fine. I
I would be curious how this episode would play out if he had been a widower with two sons, and the sons had some questions.
Rubbers, and because I thought he was going to give her rubbers and just told her to be safe. And he's like, "That's the only thing I want is I want you to be safe."
Because we missed in that hallway scene with the teenagers. I think Matt even says like, "If my dad read my question out of the box, he'd be proud of me." And Kat Dennings is like, "Why can't I be a boy?"
Yes, that is a thing. Yeah.
And then the idiot guy is like, "Is that your question? Is that what your question was?" Because nobody can get her to reveal what her question actually was.
Right. And the question is, can a boy tell if I'm a virgin?
Oh yeah, that was what the question
but
was.
It's not her question.
But it's
so yeah.
Yeah. So that's it for those two episodes. Next week's episode, let me see if I can find that information. We have two episodes, 3 and 4. Baby, you can't drive my car. Jonathan Katz no longer has a writing credit on this one. Megan Good is not in this episode, and she's not credited on IMDb.
Hold on.
And then episode 4 is called For Mature Audiences Only, where we have a female writer, Nancy Cohen. I'm not familiar with her, but I'm opening that up. Any other guest stars? Nobody that I'm familiar. Oh, Fred Stoller. Oh, fucking A. That's going to be so great. I fucking love Fred Stoller. Kindler is in the next episode, the episode 3.
Oh, okay.
So I'm excited to watch. Like I said, I've already watched the 3rd episode. Very silly.
Is there anything problematic that you'll stipulate at this point?
Yes, there's a twinge of homophobia. Twinge of homophobia. No, homophobic panic. How about that?
Ooh, okay.
Just ever so slight.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So thank you all for listening to our first episode.
Our extra long first episode of this
extra long of the season. Looking forward to more episodes this long. And Andrew, I will see you in television land.
See you in television land, Emily.